The HOA president's daughter just laughed as she stole my ATV. My mom runs this neighborhood. I am untouchable. She had no idea what she just started. There she was in my driveway, hooking my four-wheeler to her boyfriend's trailer like she owned the place. The metallic clank of the chain securing my property still echoes in my head. That ATV was Sarah's last gift before cancer took her, and watching it get dragged away made my blood boil. "You can't just steal my property. Watch me," she said, finishing with a sharp snap of the hitch. "What are you going to do? Call the cops." I did call. 45 minutes later, after I stood there helpless while my last connection to my dead wife disappeared down the street, Officer Davidson finally showed up. He took his sweet time getting out of the cruiser. "Got a report about a property dispute," he said, flipping open his notepad like he already knew how this would end. "Dispute. That girl stole my four-wheeler in broad daylight." He listened, sort of. Then Brenda Hutchinson pulled up in her white Mercedes, air-kissing the officer like old friends, waving a manila folder full of covenant amendments that had supposedly been filed last week. I never got the email. Davidson nodded like it all made perfect sense. "Mrs. Hutchinson has been very patient," he told me. "Maybe you two can work something out privately." After he left, Brenda's smile vanished. "You have 72 hours to remove that vehicle from community property, Mr. Webb. Next time we won't be so accommodating." It was in my driveway. "Your driveway extends only to the property line," she said, pointing at an invisible crack in the sidewalk. "Everything beyond belongs to the HOA. Read your deed restrictions more carefully." That night, I drove to the county courthouse and spent hours in the dusty records room. Years of rewiring houses had taught me one thing. When something doesn't add up, trace the circuit back to the source. Brenda's story was full of shorts. The recreational vehicle amendment she showed the cop, never officially filed. Texas law requires 30 days written notice and a majority homeowner vote for covenant changes. She didn't either. But the real discovery was in the landscaping contracts. The company everyone assumed was run by her brother-in-law was actually a shell company, Hutchinson Services LLC, owned by her husband Rick. They were billing the HOA $800 a month for work any legitimate outfit would charge $300 for. The invoices were right there in black and white. Sunday morning, I filmed myself moving the ATV back into my driveway and posted the video to the neighborhood Facebook group with a simple caption, "Interesting how rules appear overnight without proper votes or official filing." Within an hour, there were 23 supportive comments. People started mentioning bogus fines they'd received, financial reports that didn't add up. And suddenly I was locked out of the group. That afternoon, an anonymous note appeared into my windshield wiper. "Drop this or things get much worse." The handwriting matched the HOA meeting minutes Brenda used to scribble. The harassment started exactly 72 hours after my post, like she'd scheduled it. Excessive grass height, $150 fine, even though I'd mowed 3 days earlier. Mailbox color violation, $100, even though mine matched half the street. Unauthorized signage, $75, for house numbers identical to everyone else's. I photographed every citation, time-stamped everything. My neighbor Harold Chun, a retired accountant, wandered over one morning with green tea in hand. "You know," he said quietly, "Austin Municipal Code limits HOA fines to actual damages. That grass violation. Maximum is $25, not $150. She's running her own casino with made-up rules." That evening, Harold and I dove into the municipal code together. He was right. Texas Property Code Section 209.006 requires fines to be reasonable and proportionate. Brenda was inventing numbers. Meanwhile, she escalated. She drove past my house 4 or 5 times a day in that white Mercedes, sometimes parking across the street with a telephoto lens, photographing my property like I was running a meth lab instead of building birdhouses. Then came the loyalty program. Neighbors who stayed quiet or left passive-aggressive notes about me got their HOA dues cut in half. But not everyone could be bought. Rita Gonzalez, who had quit as treasurer 6 months earlier, showed up at my door one Thursday evening clutching a manila envelope. "I've been watching the circus," she said, glancing over her shoulder. You need to see what I kept when I quit. Inside were photocopies of financial records from her time as treasurer. Pool maintenance, $800 a month. Real cost closer to $300. Security patrol, $400 a month. One guy doing 2 lazy drives a week. Administrative fees, $200 a month with 0 documentation. Rita had started asking questions last winter. Brenda pressured her to resign before she could dig deeper. As I studied those pages under my kitchen light, the musty smell of old paper mixing with Rita's cigarette smoke, I realized this wasn't just petty power tripping. This was organized theft disguised as community management. 3 days later, Harold turned his dining room into mission control. Spreadsheets covered every surface. Red for questionable expenses, yellow for overcharges, blue for fabricated items. Pool chemicals, $400 a month. Actual supplier cost $89. The difference funneled to Hutchinson Services, LLC. Landscaping, the same scam. Every major discrepancy lined up perfectly with Rick's pharmaceutical conferences in Mexico. Harold looked up from his calculator. Gentlemen, we're not dealing with garden variety HOA corruption. This is money laundering using our neighborhood association as a front. The pattern was clear. Rick wasn't attending conferences. He was importing drugs through corrupt doctors and pain clinics, then washing the cash through our HOA dues. Brenda's iron control protected the operation. Kay's entitled lifestyle had no visible income source. Then Kay's boyfriend Jake Morrison got pulled over. Cops found enough fentanyl to stock a pharmacy and $14,000 cash. Facing federal charges, he started talking. His testimony, passed to me through a courthouse contact, laid out the full Hutchinson operation. Inflated contracts, phantom expenses, dirty money getting scrubbed clean through our little suburban association. Harold's spreadsheet showed $73,000 in questionable expenses over 3 years. Jake suggested the real number was closer to $200,000, not counting cash that never hit the books. That weekend, someone shattered my workshop window and stole $1,200 worth of power tools. Security cameras caught Kay's butterfly tattoo as she stuffed my drill set into a garbage bag. This time I didn't call Officer Davidson. I called the DEA tip line. Agent Rodriguez returned my call in 2 hours. We met at a downtown Austin coffee shop. She reviewed Harold analysis with focused intensity. Mr. Webb, you've documented sophisticated money laundering. Combined with Morrison's cooperation, we have grounds for federal racketeering charges. She explained that Rick's pharmaceutical company had been under surveillance for months. They needed inside documentation for an airtight case. My evidence packet was exactly what they were waiting for. Keep documenting everything, she said, sliding her card across the table. And watch your back. People laundering this kind of money don't hesitate to eliminate threats. I installed motion sensors, moved my remaining tools to a storage unit, and kept going. Thursday night, Harold pulled out a folder of corporate records. Rick's Meridian Pharmaceutical Solutions was registered to a UPS store mailbox in a strip mall. No FDA registration. No legitimate pharmaceutical company can operate without FDA oversight. The entire business was a prop to justify massive cash flows for Mexican entities that definitely weren't selling aspirin. Money moved through 3 layers of shells, ending up cleaned through our HOA landscaping budget. Harold's flowchart showed roughly $340,000 in suspicious payments over 18 months. Cross-referencing HOA payment dates with local drug bust reports revealed correlations too precise to be coincidence. Friday morning, I handed Agent Rodriguez the full packet in my kitchen. Within 6 hours, my house became an impromptu federal command center. Forensic accountants, RICO specialists, tech experts turned my dining room into mission control. They built a timeline. Approximately $2. $3 million laundered through our single HOA over 3 years. Mexican sources suggested the overall operation involved tens of millions. Protective surveillance started immediately. My daughters in Dallas were relocated to a safe house. Motion sensors went up everywhere. Federal marshals did drive-bys every 2 hours. The Hutchinsons panicked. Brenda called an emergency HOA meeting, rambling about outside agitators and trying to ban security cameras. The motion died 34-13. Even her bought allies turned. Rick flew back early from Mexico. Intercepts grew frantic. Package delivery compromised. Elfie wants full extraction by Sunday. Liquidate assets and relocate. Saturday morning, 3 men in expensive suits knocked on my door, offering substantial compensation for discretion. I showed them the recording app running. They left quickly. That afternoon, Rick was arrested at Austin Airport, trying to board a private jet to Nicaragua with $200,000 cash and fake documents. Brenda and Kay still planned to attend Sunday's community barbecue. Sunday morning, the Texas heat shimmered. Agent Rodriguez drank coffee in my kitchen while tactical vests hung over my breakfast chair. 7 agents from DEA, FBI, and IRS were already positioned throughout the neighborhood, disguised as joggers, dog walkers, utility workers. Harold was chosen to make the community announcement. At 11:45, he approached the microphone near the pavilion. Neighbors, we've gathered today to address serious concerns about financial irregularities in our HOA management. After months of investigation, we've discovered evidence of systematic theft and money laundering that extends far beyond simple embezzlement. These financial crimes are connected to drug trafficking operations that have used our neighborhood association to launder millions of dollars in illegal proceeds. Today, federal authorities will be executing arrest warrants for the individuals responsible. Brenda went pale. Kay started looking around nervously. Agent Rodriguez stepped out from behind the pavilion, badge visible, followed by 36 other agents emerging from every corner of the park. Brenda Hutchinson, Kay Hutchinson, you're under arrest for money laundering, racketeering, and conspiracy to distribute controlled substances. Handcuffs clicked. News cameras rolled. Brenda shrieked about rights and political persecution. Kay screamed that they were untouchable. Rodriguez's voice cut through the chaos. Your family has been running a drug trafficking operation disguised as HOA management. The only thing you're touching now is federal prison time. I stepped to the microphone when Brenda tried to blame me. Mrs. Hutchinson, your daughter stole my ATV because your family thought they were above the law. But that theft led to discovering your husband's drug trafficking operation and your money laundering scheme. For 2 years, you terrorized neighbors with bogus fines while stealing from our HOA to wash drug money. You thought being HOA president made you untouchable. Today, you're finding out that federal law doesn't care about your neighborhood politics. Kay lunged toward me. Agents intercepted her. As they were led away, Brenda called over her shoulder, "This is a mistake. Our lawyers will have us released by tomorrow." Rodriguez smiled. "Ma'am, your assets have been frozen under federal forfeiture laws. Your lawyers are about to become very expensive, and you won't be paying them with drug money." 6 months later, I'm sitting in my workshop on a crisp October morning, cedar shavings and fresh coffee in the air. The empty lot where the Hutchinson house once stood is now Sarah's Trails Memorial Garden. Tomatoes, peppers, and weekend coffee mornings where neighbors actually talk to each other. Rick got 15 years federal for drug trafficking and money laundering. Brenda got 8 for conspiracy and racketeering. Kay got 3 in state prison, likely 18 months with good behavior. Jake Morrison got 12, but testified against 17 cartel associates, helping dismantle networks across Texas. Federal forfeiture recovered $312,000 from Hutchinson accounts, plus another $180,000 from seized vehicles and properties. Every penny came back to the HOA with interest. Monthly dues dropped to $95 under honest management. Harold is treasurer now. Rita is president. They run quarterly public audits and monthly budget meetings where every expense gets scrutinized. The ATV still sits in my driveway. Every Saturday morning, a dozen neighbors meet here for coffee and trail rides through the hill country. Engines and laughter have replaced Brenda's intimidation campaigns. Property values rose 12%. Realtors mention our resistance to HOA abuse as a selling point. The waiting list for homes stretches 6 months. Last week, I got a letter from Oregon. An HOA president demanding $500 monthly special assessments with zero explanation. The financial patterns look eerily familiar. Agent Rodriguez thinks we might have another money laundering investigation brewing in the Pacific Northwest. Looks like this widower's fight for justice is just getting started. If you've survived your own HOA nightmare, drop your story below. I read every one. Some of you might be sitting on evidence of serious crimes without realizing it. Check your HOA financial reports. Document everything. Bullies always have the biggest secrets to hide. And remember, corruption counts on your silence. Don't give them that power.